Many of you know that my granddaughter Kaylee and her daughter Aubrey live with me. Since I saw you all last Tuesday, my 18-year-old grandson, Deontay, asked if he could stay with me for a while. He wants to take a job working as a dishwasher at DJ's. His sister Kaylee has worked there almost 4 years and has offered to help him get hired. Of course, I agreed. Last Thursday, I brought up the subject of TED Talks with Deontay. He had heard of them and had watched a few, but no, he did not have a profile on TED.com. I was trying to persuade him of the value of getting a profile, how a list is created there with all the talks you watch, how you can mark some as favorites and share with other users. I asked him what he was most interested in right now so I could pull up a talk about that from my list. Predictably, he said it was making money. I guess that's why he's going to be a dishwasher. I was having trouble finding the talk I wanted that explains the fiction of money. In looking for that one on my list, I pulled up the one by Dave Isay called Everyone Around You Has a Story the World Needs to Hear, which is about StoryCorps. Anybody heard of that? Nobody? I'm pretty surprised. It's a nonprofit outfit that facilitates and films interviews between real-life people. Many times the people are related, and sometimes the true stories are more incredible than fiction. We watched this TED Talk together. Still, I was frustrated that it was not the one I wanted. It had nothing to do with money and contradicted my assertion that the profile list is helpful. I couldn't find the talk I wanted anywhere on my profile list. I discovered later that the reason I couldn't find it there was that I had watched it before making a TED profile. That same day, I took Deontay to BJ's for lunch, and while we waited for our food, my grandson asked me about something he's never been interested in before, jobs I have done. I began telling him that my first job was as a candy girl at a movie theater in Dallas, where I grew up. After that, I was an information operator at AT&T, but of course it wasn't AT&T back then, it was Southwestern Bell. It was about this time that I realized I was doing an interview with my grandson, much like the ones we'd seen on TED Talk about StoryCorps, and nothing like job interviews I'd always hated at FTB. So I went with it. I listed off some jobs. I was a vault attendant in Menasha, Wisconsin, cost accountant for a hearing aid company in Phoenix, factory worker for Western Electric in Phoenix, where I soldered wires onto the ends of cables to be used for things that are surely obsolete now. My first waitress job was in Rochester, Minnesota, in the Pinnacle room atop the Kaler Hotel. Deontay thought he'd heard of that place, and I told him it was possible since it's right across the street from the Mayo Clinic, which is world-renowned. I explained that many famous people visit the Mayo Clinic, but that the only one I met while working there was Jim Neighbors. I went on to talk about John's Green Gables in Phoenix when I was 26 and wore the required hot pants and boots. I'm sure some of you young people don't remember that style. We must have gotten our plates about this time, since I don't remember telling him about the many other jobs I've had. Deontay was born in 1997, so his whole experience has been connected to my employment at FTB, and now he sees me living the freedom of retired life. Of course, he had a few questions about getting on as a state worker, but I think this interview has brought a better understanding for him of why I say, just start school, even if you don't know what your ultimate direction is. It may be more clear to him now why I say new opportunities and directions can develop from just getting started. Meanwhile, he's anxious to start dishwashing for a paycheck, and I hope to keep him listening to TED Talks. Maybe I can even convince him to do an interview with StoryCorps when their mobile bus is here in Sacramento this month.